But I was gonna say, are there things you started to do like in your career that you started like it was another like thing you wanted to start to learn a language? You know, like Joe Rogan told me one day, he's like, when I'm done with doing this job, I want to paint. And I never thought I would hear him say. I was like, huh?
Yeah. Howard Stern paints really, really well. Howard Stern does like amazing watercolors. They're like, you see them and you're like, holy shit, yeah.
Dude, Silence of the Lambs paints, dude. That guy. What's his name?
Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins, dude. Bring him up.
Oh, wow.
He paints.
That's amazing.
Have the lambs stopped painting?
I paint as well.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Actually, at the front of the pub, there's a painting that I did, but it's more I just go into a studio with canvases on the floor and just splash loads of color. Yeah. And when it's done, it's done. But that's more like I started doing that when I finished. I did this tour that ended in 2019. And when it finished, I was like, I don't want to do music for like a month, but also I want to carry on being creative and do stuff. So I started painting then. I learned Italian as well. That was like a thing. I bought a place in Italy and no one speaks English there. So I was like, I have to learn Italian. But those are like the two things that if I wasn't doing music, I'd like to put more time into. And honestly, like I love movies, discovering new things.
Yeah.
Like movies, like different artists, albums.
Will you listen to something or watch something to sometimes put you in like a mood to like create your own music even or to write songs?
My creative process is just basically like do it. Like just get in and do it. And if it's bad, forget about it and move on. So I try to be creative every single day. Write a song every single day or 2 songs every single day and not worry about whether it's good or not. Like not be like, I feel like some people think that like writer's block is a thing where you're like, oh, I can't write songs. But you can write songs, you just can't write good songs. So just like keep writing.
Get the bad ones out.
Exactly, yeah. So Shape of You was written on a day and we wrote 4 other songs that day that no one's really heard. And Shape of You came out of that. And if I hadn't written the 4 bad songs, I wouldn't have got the 1 good song. So just a process of just constantly doing it. But I don't think I've ever really watched. The only movie that I've watched to create something was I did a song for The Hobbit, and they showed me the movie, and then they went, this is the point where the song comes in, and your song has to convey this and bring the audience out of the movie. And it was a point where Smaug's going to the big town at the end, and he's going to destroy it and cover it in fire and flames and blah, blah, blah. So they were like, we need this chaotic bit and then a calm bit, and you basically taking the audience out of the cinema. So that was the first time I've been like inspired by a movie, I guess.
Wow, that's a pretty cool task, huh?
Yeah, really cool. And also in that process, you're essentially working in a creative medium that you don't really know anything about, and you're so excited. Like I was so geeked out to be working with like Peter and Fran, and then getting to do the press tour with all of the actors and stuff. Wow. And you're suddenly there in a world that you don't really belong in. But it's like the reason musicians are obsessed with sports players and the sports players are obsessed with musicians, and it's because each can do something that the other can't do. Yeah. But there's still like a level of dedication you have to do to get to that point.
Do you feel like you'll make different music since you have like a family and stuff now? Does that start to like, I guess it's kind of a silly question, but it's like,
I made an album that my fans weren't like over the moon about, because I feel like I was in quite a happy point of my life. And so the album didn't have much tension. It was just, I made a record. But yeah, I feel like just because I'm married with kids doesn't mean that like you don't have tension in your life. I feel like even more so there's been things in my life that have happened over the past 2 years. So I think the music that I'm making at the moment is more like the music I was making in my early 20s when there was a lot of tension going on in my life. But you go through periods of time, don't you? I'm sure you go through periods of time where you're like, things are good. Yeah, I feel quite settled, quite happy. And then suddenly a bombshell happens and then you have to... Yeah. So I feel like that's, for me, always creating music. I can see like back on my albums, there's like a lineage of like, this is where I was at this point, this is where I was at this point. And I feel like if all of the albums sounded the same, it'd be boring.
Yeah, so you have to evolve in some sort.
And it's good to have like, this is the album when I was like, the album when I made an album in COVID, quite settled, quite happy. We had our first child, and yeah, I listen to that now, and there's no like heartbreak songs on it or sad songs or blah. It's just kind of, it is what it is.
Yeah, because a lot of times it's like, rip my fucking heart out, Eddie. You know?
Yeah. I think I'm getting back
good
on this one. I think
that's That's what we want, man.
But this is what you're saying about taking time off. You have to take time off to actually live life. Like if I'm on the road, I think this is another thing why people who get successful early have their age freeze. Because when I'm on the road, life does just pause.
Yeah.
Because you, like today, you wake up, you get on a plane, you fly here, we do an interview, you might go out for dinner tonight. There's no like actual real life interaction in your actual personal life being lived because you're constantly working. So you'll go back, I always found this, you'll go back home and you'll press play on your life again and then you'll be like, holy fuck, so much has happened. How do I keep up with this? Your friend who was dating this person is now not dating this person. You've missed that whole thing. Your dad might be going through something. You've missed that whole thing. Like your brother's doing this.
It is weird. That's a really great way to say it too. Yeah, it's like
you just put it on pause and you go and do your thing and you come back and you press play on you, but it's like the whole world has been pressing play. Yeah.
And I think everybody can even relate to that too. I mean, going and touring and that kind of thing is a little separate, different because you kind of get taken out of your life almost, and then you just drop right back into your life. Okay, yeah, I think sometimes the tough parts are like sometimes I'll drift out of what I'm actually doing when I'm on stage. I don't even know what it is. It's not like I'm daydreaming, but sometimes you'll just, I don't know. I'll kind of go on autopilot, not because I want to. It just sort of happens, and you have to drop back in. You know.
I do that sometimes. I do it quite regularly on Perfect because it's just acoustic. I'm not having to think about what I'm doing with my feet. And occasionally I just drop the second verse by accident and I just kind of come to and I'm like, oh, I've just not sung the second verse and the song's now like a minute and a half long. But you get in there's certain things, I'm sure there's certain routines that you just know so well that your mind just sort of wanders.
Yeah, and then how do you make them feel new and to surprise yourself too, you know? And
I think it's good every now and then to completely rip up the rule book of what your performance is and just ad lib as well.
Yeah, that's a good point.